Pardon? Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to see us. This is the Children at the Well Storytellers. Our program has been running for over 20 years, offering storytelling lessons for community kids. And a year and a half ago, we started a story coach training program, and a number of us enrolled in that. And we've been learning to become story coaches under the guidance of our lead story coach, Stephanie Ward, who couldn't be here today. And so my fellow story coaches will be introducing the kids in just a minute. I want to remind you, if you haven't, silence your cell phones and enjoy the stories.
It's on, but you need to get closer to it.
You can repeat it.
Did you all hear me?
Right.
Yes.
So each of these tellers today has chosen their own story based on the theme of stories of helping, good friends, and good neighbors. So we have a nice variety of stories today, and each of them will be told in the unique style of each of our tellers. And they have been a pleasure to work with, I'll just say as a coach. Our first teller will be sharing 2 stories of friendship in her charismatic and upbeat style, and that will be Kriti Sonia. And I'll introduce our second person so we can kind of speed along here. Our second teller will be Ariman Prasad, telling his version of The Lion and the Mouse in his very engaging, spirited, and fun storytelling style.
Hi everybody, I'm Kriti Sonia, and today I'm going to be telling you guys 2 stories of friendship. My first story is called The Deep Friendship of Krishna and Sudama. Let's get right into it. This story is really near my heart, and I've been listening to this story since I was a little child. So, once upon a time, long ago, where there were kings and queens, there were 2 best friends, Krishna and Sudama. They were inseparable. They would do everything together. However, life moves on and they have to grow up, and they went their own ways. Krishna went on the path of royalty, while Sudama went on the path of devotion. With devotion came poverty, and so he lived poorly. He had a happy family, but he had to work hours just to get one meal for them. One day, he was traveling and he decided that he wanted to visit his friend Krishna. And then he went on the way. However, on the way, he realized that he didn't have anything to give to Krishna, and he felt really sad about it. However, his wife on his side gave him a pouch of flattened rice, in Hindi called poha. This food was Krishna's favorite childhood food, and Sudama knew that it was a really meaningful gift, and so he went on with it. When he came to the doors of royalty, the guards looked him up and down, criticizing him and judging him, thinking, why would such a man in such poor clothes come to the gates of royalty? We will not let him in. And so the news reached Krishna. As soon as Krishna heard Sudama's name, he came running out. Ignoring all the protocols, ignoring all the guards, and running out bare feet. He didn't care about anything else except meeting Sudama again after a long time. When they embraced, it was like 2 worlds meeting together. They hugged for a really long time. And after, they started talking. They talked about everything in the world, talked about anything and everything and nothing. They talked about how their lives had moved on, how happy they were. Even though Sudama was in a sad state, Sudama only told Krishna the happy parts of his life, how he got married and had children and had a really happy family. Krishna thought something was off, but he dismissed the thought. And Krishna saw the pouch behind Sudama's back and asked Sudama, "My dear friend, what is this?" Sudama looked at the pouch and said, "This is poha, I got it for you." And Krishna was really happy, so he cooked the poha himself and ate it with love in his heart and gratitude in his eyes. He was really happy. After eating, they started talking again. This time, Krishna saw how Sudama looked like. He was really thin. His cheekbones were sunken in, and his eyes had dark circles around them. He was really pale and looked like he'd worked hours just for one single meal. And at that moment, Krishna knew that Sudama needed help, that Sudama was not in the happy state that he described he was in. There were some parts, but mostly he had to work really hard to just get one meal. That moment, Krishna knew that Sudama needed help. After their hangout, Sudama went back home, and he found something very different than what he left. When he left a little hut with barely any food nor any money. When he came back, he found a good-built house. There was lots of food in the storage room and lots of money instead of just a penny. And that moment, Sudama knew that Krishna had done this. Krishna had helped him, and he knew that Krishna would do anything in his power to save Sudama and make him happy. That's how the first story concludes. My second story is a story that comes from my life, and it's really important to me. This story might seem really little to you guys or really silly, but this story told me how the world acts and how there are some people who would stick with you while others who would betray you. Let's get started. Once upon a time, when I was in second grade, and that was a long time ago, so I was really little, and I was in second grade, and in our school, we had this thing called a canteen, or like a snack shack, where you could buy anything and absolutely anything you wanted. It was a little candy store, or a little store where you would buy anything you want, like a little restaurant. And my mom had given me 20 rupees. Rupees is Indian currency, and because I was in second grade, I felt like I was the richest person in the whole entire world. And so I came to school really happy, and the first thing I did was tell my best friend Ashi, "Hey, I am the richest person in the world. I have 20 rupees today. We can buy absolutely everything we want." And me and Ashi were really happy. And during lunch, we were making our way to the canteen, while my friend came up to me and politely asked, "Hey, can you get me one thing too?" I was a little hesitant at first because my past experiences with her had not been great. But out of the goodness of my heart, I said, "Yes, sure, I'll buy you anything." And after buying anything we wanted, I laid it all out on the table and told my friend to choose one thing. Instead of choosing one thing like she wished to, she picked up the whole pile of food and started walking away with it. However, before walking away, she gave Ashi, my best friend, one lollipop. At that moment, I started doing what any second-year-old would have done, crying. I cried and cried and cried. And Ashi ran up and asked and went to my teacher, told her what happened. While the teacher was trying to convince the bully, Ashi came up to me and gave me the only lollipop that she had. At that moment, I knew that Ashi would do anything for me. And at that moment, I also knew that there are some friends in your life that would give you everything in their power, while there are others who would betray you just over some food. However, I didn't get my food back because of the bully, but at that moment, I didn't care about it. All I cared about was that I had my best friend at my side who would do anything for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Armand Prasad. Today I'll be presenting The Lion and the Rat. So once upon a time, there was this rat that was just wandering around, just looking for food. So then he just went over this big stone, not knowing it was a lion that was sleeping. So then he just crossed over the line. By the time he reached over the lion woke up and just went with a drowsy lift on his head. And then he said, "What was that thing that crawled over me?" And then the mouse got so frightened that he went behind a tree. But then the lion saw that and there was this rat that went behind a tree. So then he grabbed the rat and was about to eat the rat before the rat said, "Hey, spare me. One day I could do some good." And then the lion thought and thought and thought and thought until he let the mouse go. So then the next day, the lion was hunting for food until he saw this plain meat. Didn't think anything sus about it. So then he was just munching on the meat until there was this big net that fell over. But it was a trap, but the hunter wasn't there. So until the afternoon, the same exact mouse was just wandering around and then was looking for food. And then he saw the lion inside the net. And then he asked, "Hey, what happened?" And then the lion said, "It will be better off if you don't ask." So then the mouse didn't ask. And then the lion asked, "Oh, can you help by nibbling off the net? You remember that last time when I let you go?" So then the mouse thought and thought and thought until he said, "I'll get my mice friends." So then after getting his mice friends, he went up to the net, and then all of them started nibbling off the net until it was nighttime. By that time, the net was destroyed, completely gone. And then the lion and the mouse became best friends. The end.
I was actually thinking, we can keep it low if you want. Okay, so, well, I'm gonna be presenting her though, Joe. Talk loud. Okay, so she's, okay, presenting the next storyteller, Kashvi Sharma. You can say your name afterwards again. She's going to share with us her unique personal story told in a sincere, pure, and full of heart. The title is Helping Hands Make Good Friends. The title is Helping Hands Make Good Friends. I said that correct, didn't I? And the next storyteller, we're going to be having May, which actually I'll introduce you afterwards so she can start.
Hi guys, my name is Kashvi Sharma and I'm going to be telling this story about helping hands make good friends. One morning after I finished eating my breakfast, I walked happily to my classroom. My class teacher, Miss Downey, was already there waiting for us to begin our math lesson. We just started with some homework time and then some more work until the end of the day. We started with a very hard lesson, but the first and second were very easy. But the third, fourth, and fifth were kind of hard. So the first, second, and third she did with us. And then fourth and the fifth, we had to do ourselves. The fourth one was easy, but the fifth one only a couple of them got right. The girl right next to me, he was named Lyra, and she kind of needed help. I politely walked up to her desk and said, Can I help you? And then she said, yes, please. So she needed help with the fifth one. It was 40 plus 12. I explained and explained and explained until I asked, do you know the answer? She said yes, it's 52. I was happy that she got it correct. And then we showed the work to Miss Downey. She was helping another kid, but then she just got free. We showed the work to Miss Downey. She was very happy to see the correct answers. And then Lyra told to Miss Downey that I helped her. Miss Downey gave me 4 diamond toys, and then she said that she's going to call my parents and appreciate me. And that's how helping hands make good friends.
Okay, I'll use the microphone, but then we're gonna put it to us.
Well, that was wonderful. I wish I had a friend like you in class. Numbers wasn't my thing, and the first time I heard the story and she said 40 plus 12, I was like, oh my God, what is 40 plus 12? And when she said 52, I was like, wow, she got it right. We are good in math. And a great friend. Okay, I have the pleasure to present the next storyteller, Maeve Breen. She's a natural storyteller, homeschooled with a calm present, confident, and a warm, genuine heart. She will be sharing with us the story, The Golden Bowl of Hospitality. And she doesn't need a mic, Christian. Doesn't need a mic. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maeve, and today I'm going to be telling the story of the Golden Bowl of Hospitality. Once, long ago in Ireland, when the stone walls were not crumbles on the land, it was believed that it was good luck to welcome a traveler into your home. And though it was believed to be good luck, it was seldom followed through, and travelers often found themselves turned out of homes before even entering. Now, one of the few people who still welcomed strangers into his home was a man named Cormac. Now, Cormac was not wealthy, and he wasn't very poor either, but he did his best to help those in need. One day, as he was coming home from work, he saw an older man knocking on his door. He went up to the older man and he said, "Hello, is there anything I can help you with?" And the older man said, "Please, I've been traveling for 3 days. I've had almost nothing to eat and drink, and I'm exhausted. I've had almost no sleep. And every single person that I've knocked on their door has come to me and said, 'You cannot come in,' and turned me away. Please just let me stay one night." And Cormac, being the kind person he was, said, "Yes, come in right away." And he let the traveler into his home. During that time that the traveler stayed, Cormac did not let the man pick up a broom or a rag to clean or do any chores. He gave him full meals. And in the time, the traveler ended up staying 3 days. At the end of that time, the traveler came up to Cormac and he said, "Thank you. Thank you for all that you have done. I know I can never repay the generosity that you have showed me and the kindness in your heart, but please take this bowl." And he handed Cormac an old cracked clay bowl, stained, quite ugly. And he said to Cormac, "Put this on your table and do not touch it, do not wash it, just leave it there." And he was gone. Now Cormac, thinking it was a little bit strange, looked over the bowl. It was clay, and it was pretty dirty and beat up. It looked quite old, like it hadn't been used for 30 years, something like that. And he didn't really want to put it on his table. I mean, generally we put like flowers or something pretty on our table, but he had been asked to put an old clay bowl. He didn't really want to, but he decided that it was the kindest thing to do since the traveler had asked him specifically to. So he put it on his table and he left it there. He didn't touch it, he didn't clean it, he didn't wash it, he just left it there. Now, over time, Cormac noticed something strange happening every single time he was kind to someone, or helped someone, or let someone into his home. The bowl got a little bit brighter, a little bit cleaner, a little bit shinier, until if you went near it, you could almost feel the heat coming off of it. It was a bright golden hue. Cormac did not really know anything about magic, and he kind of thought that something strange was happening to the bowl. So he decided to go find the traveler. So he shouldered his pack and headed out on the road. He hadn't gone far when he saw a man coming toward him on the road. The man was finely dressed and didn't look anything like any of the people who lived nearby. But something in his face, something looked familiar, and Cormac, looking closer, realized it was the traveler coming toward him. So he rushed up to the man and said, "You are the traveler, aren't you?" And the man said, "Yes, I am the traveler." And Cormac said, "The bowl you gave me, the strange bowl, something's happened to it. It's brighter, it's cleaner, it's shinier. Well, what happened?" And the man said, "That bowl I gave you symbolized the unkindness I faced on the road, and many of my fellow travelers have faced. The unkindness as we were turned away made the bowl dirty. But when you put the bowl in your home, and instead of using it, cleaning it and washing it so that you would look nicer, your home would look nicer, you spent your time helping and welcoming people into your home. That is what cleaned your bowl. The bowl is not of material value. It shows what you put into the world, and what you put into the world is reflected around you. So be aware of that in every day of your life. You will see what you do. It will come back to you." Thank you. That is my story.
Hello. I have the privilege and pleasure of introducing our last two storytellers. The first is Kashfi Soni, who inspires me with the courage she brings at her young age to even stand up here and do this. But she also brings this creativity to the story she's going to offer. And it continues that theme of the power of welcoming the stranger in your home. Her story, she's called The Retelling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So that's Kashfi. And then we'll also have, last but certainly not least, Mishika Sharma, who is bringing such a creative personal narrative to share. And it just brings out her huge heart and creativity that you'll see. And she calls her story The Small Doll and the Big Memory. So enjoy. Kashfi?
Hello everybody, my name is Kashfi Soni. Today I'm going to be telling the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but my version. So let's get started. Once upon a time, Goldilocks was wandering around the magical forest, Fairyland. Then she came upon a mushroom. It was a very big mushroom. She started looking around it. Then she found a doorknob. Goldilocks thought to herself, mushrooms don't have doorknobs. It must be a house, because, houses have doorknobs. So then Goldilocks went looking for the owner of the mushroom house. Then she came upon these three bears. She asked, "What are your guys' names?" Daddy Bear said, "Oh, Daddy Bear." Mommy Bear said, "I'm Mommy Bear." Baby Bear said, "I'm Jimmy." So, then Goldilocks asked, "Do you guys have the mushroom house back there?" All the bears replied and they said yes. Then Goldilocks asked, "Can I come over to your house? I smell some really good porridge." So all the bears said yes. So Goldilocks went to the bear's house. she really liked it there. She explored the house and she ate some porridge, and they also talked. Goldilocks loved the bear's house, so she decided to go every single day. Until one day, Goldilocks got bored of just going to their house, talking, eating some porridge, so she asked the bears if they want to go on a hike on top of Mount Everest with her. So Goldilocks asked, and the bears said yes. So the next day, Goldilocks got all her materials to climb, and then she went to the bears' house. Then when she arrived, all the bears got their stuff and they went hiking on top of Mount Everest. They were climbing and climbing and climbing until they got a little tired, so they decided to just relax and enjoy the view. So then they started climbing and climbing and climbing until they reached the top. They were very tired, so they decided to relax and eat some yummy sandwiches that Goldilocks packed. They were all too tired to go all the way back to the bottom of Mount Everest. So, Daddy Bear was smart enough, and he brought a huge, long, inflatable slide to slide all the way back to the bottom of Mount Everest. So then, so Daddy Bear blew up the slide until it was all blown up. Then everybody went down one by one until Goldilocks' turn. When it was Goldilocks' turn, she was going down, and then a huge sharp rock popped the inflatable slide, and Goldilocks got hurt really bad on her knee. So when Goldilocks went all the way back to the bottom, Goldilocks said in pain, I think I have a first aid kit in my backpack. And then the bears looked for the first aid kit. They saw it and they tried to heal Goldilocks, but it wasn't enough. So when that day, when Goldilocks got back home, she showed her mom what happened. Goldilocks' mom felt a bunch of different emotions. She felt sad, mad, and more. So Goldilocks' mom said, Goldilocks, why would you go on hiking on the tallest mountain in the world with 3 random bears that you probably don't know? That's like the most dangerous thing you could do ever. Goldilocks' mom was really mad, so Goldilocks' mom said, you're not allowed to go outside of the house until you feel better and your knee is all healed, so go to your room. Goldilocks nodded because she was really sad. So when she got to her room, and she was really bored. She had absolutely nothing to do for the next few days, and then who knows, when you get hurt on your knee, it hurts really bad, and it could stay for months or weeks. So then a few days later, the bears noticed that Goldilocks wasn't coming to their house anymore. So they got a get well present and they went off to look for Goldilocks' house. When they found it, they rang the doorbell. When Goldilocks' mom opened the door, she was very surprised to see 3 bears at her door holding a get well present, because that's very unusual to see. So when Goldilocks came, she was so happy to see the 3 bears. Goldilocks loved the present, so then she introduced the 3 bears to Goldilocks' brother. Goldilocks says, "This is Daddy Bear. He's really smart because he brought a tube slide to go all the way back to the bottom of Mount Everest." And then she said something about she said more about the bears. Then the 3 bears asked, can we move in with you? You guys have such a big house, and you probably have a couple of extra rooms left. And then Goldilocks kept on talking until she said, sure, why not? We have rooms left. And then Goldilocks was really happy because she would finally have somebody to actually enjoy time with, because she had absolutely nothing to do. So Goldilocks is gone, and the three bears lived happily ever after. The
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mishika, and I'll be telling you the story about my tiny doll. So when I was little, I had a tiny doll with bright pink hair styled into 2 cute buns. She was small enough to fit in my hand, but in my heart, she was gigantic. Her name was Pinky, and she was my best friend. Not one of my best friends, the best friend. I took her everywhere. If I left the house without Pinky, it felt like I was leaving without my shoes or even my brain. Pinky came with me to family parties, car rides, and even places where she probably never asked to go to, like the grocery store. And I treated her like she was a real person, and I even made sure she was comfortable. If I sat down, she sat down, and if I ate snacks, she observed very closely. And one day, we were going to someone's house, and as usual, Pinky was in my hand, probably enjoying the view. And I remember playing with Pinky in the living room and putting her on the couch for just a moment while I went to grab a snack. Now, just a moment. What could possibly go wrong in a moment? A lot, apparently. And when it was time to leave, I reached for Pinky, and I realized that she wasn't there. Then I looked in my pockets, in my bag, and at the floor, under the table, and even in tight places where a doll could possibly not fit. And I couldn't find Pinky. And at that point, my heart was racing like I was in a dramatic movie scene. I felt scared, sad, and very, very dramatic. Then the panic hit, and I started crying. The loud, serious kind of crying where everyone in the room knew something terrible had happened. And to me, it had, because I lost my favorite doll. Then my Nanu, or my grandpa, came up to me and he asked me what's wrong. And through my tears, I told him that Pinky was gone forever. And instead of saying that it's just a doll, don't worry, it's okay, he said, don't worry, we'll find Pinky. Dolls don't just disappear, usually. And that made me pause. Then Nanu started searching with me, and he looked under the table, behind the curtains, lifted the couch pillows as if he was on a serious mission. And he joked that Pinky might be hiding because she didn't want to leave yet. And at that point, I was half crying and half watching him like he was a detective. And then suddenly Nanu said, wait, I see something pink. He reached deep, deep into the couch, way deeper than I thought was possible, and slowly pulled out my tiny doll. Pinky's pink hair was sticking out like she had been stuck in there for a long time. She had been stuck in the couch. And I gasped, then I laughed, and then I started crying again. It was a very confusing emotional moment. And then I grabbed Pinky and hugged her like she had just returned from a long vacation. Nanu smiled proudly like he had just solved the greatest mystery of the century. And that day has stayed with me ever since, not only because I found my favorite doll, but also because Nanu showed me that when you're scared and sad and stressed, it always helps to have someone who's calm, patient, and willing to dig through a couch for you. And yes, after that day, I've been checking couches very carefully. Thank you.
Well, that's the end of our stories. We all want to thank you all for being here. And I just want to invite all our storytellers up so that we can let them take a last bow and show our appreciation.